Denver Writing Project several years ago when I was pursuing my master's degree at the University of Colorado at Denver.
The Denver Writing Project is a professional guild, is the best way that I would describe it, where teachers come together from all content areas, all grade levels, to work on their craft as writers themselves, but also to learn techniques for teaching writing to students.
So the Summer Institute is a few-week program in the summer for teachers, and they have to apply, and then you work together in a cohort of about 16 usually educators with 4 facilitators.
Well, one of the things that attracted me to the Denver Writing Project is that it's really about teachers teaching teachers, and that's really appealing because I think teachers are the best professional developers for their colleagues. So to have an experience where you're surrounded with like-minded teachers and they're really the ones motivating, inspiring, and teaching their colleagues is just a unique experience that you don't always get in other professional development programs.
They hope to put a great teacher in front of every kid in the country. So every pre-kindergarten through college kid should have great instruction every year, every day.
When I was exposed to this new model of professional development as a new teacher, when I first started with the Denver Writing Project, it blew my mind. And I think there's teachers that have been teaching much longer than 3 years that haven't had that kind of experience where they really are valued. Their experiences in the classroom are totally valued.
Well, I think that it gives teachers a place to learn something, experiment, reflect on that learning, and that reflection piece I think is really important. We always talk about doing that with our own students, but sometimes adults go take a class, hurry up and learn something, and then forget to reflect on that.
I'm terrified about writing, but I'm a very curious person. So I got home and I did some research and I read about it and I saw the questions that they were asking, and at the time I knew how much I hated teaching writing. It was one of those things that if I didn't have to teach writing, my day would be great. And so I thought, okay, I have to get over it. I mean, I'm not going to not be a writing teacher because I love to teach reading, and so it really goes hand in hand.
The relationships I formed with the Denver Writing Project are so invaluable because I can do something in my classroom and I can talk to my colleagues about it, of course, but often it's so easy to pick up the phone and call another teacher consultant and have a thinking partner to think through a problem.
Well, I do think, one of the strengths of the Denver Writing Project is that I was, as a middle school teacher, sitting with a group of about between 20 and 30 other teachers who spanned everything from kindergarten to college. And so I think the Denver Writing Project does a really nice job of recruiting a variety of teachers who represent different grade levels. One of those colleagues, who is a Denver Writing Project teacher who participated a few summers before me, we co-presented at a conference recently, and her ideas and her practices of using infographics to teach principles of argumentation, she used that with 11th graders, is something that I found that I could modify and adapt for my 6th graders. And I never would have tried that genre or approach or felt like I could take a risk if it hadn't been for that experience and collaboration with her.
In terms of student influence, I actually am currently just started this last week a writing workshop. One of our units of study is on narrative, and so I've been utilizing the strategies put forth by the Denver Writing Project to set up my classroom for this entire unit of study.
I mean, things as simple as encouraging students to write on one side of the paper and then getting out the scissors and rearranging for organization. And that tactile thing helps English language learners so much.
Just today, my students wrote their poem, and one of the things that I made sure that I did was I stood up in front of the class and wrote with them, which was very scary because poetry is hard and it's very emotionally wrought. And so I stood up in front of the class and brainstormed a list of all the identities that apply to me so that I could write a poem with them, and it worked really well because my students, they saw me willing to take that risk and to, make that effort to do what they were doing, and they were dead silent working through their first drafts as well.
Antonio really struggled with his writing. All of his words would bash together, and all of his, he didn't have any paragraphing, spelling was atrocious, his ideas were great, but they were just all over the place. And so through the Denver Writing Project, I was exposed deeper to the writing workshop model of instruction, and through workshopping with the class that Antonio was in, I was able to have he was able to receive more individualized instruction on what he needed keep it in a log of like what his goals were and then work towards those goals, and then seeing that record for him of what he'd accomplished and how he'd come so far in his writing and having these like artifacts to prove it, I mean, you couldn't stop him from writing.
If you think about it, students, whether they're writing to learn or learning to write, they do have those writing experiences across their day, whether they're sitting in a science lab or a social studies discussion or a literacy class.
I think it's especially important now in the 21st century that learners carve their own learning path. Each of us has to find his or her own path in life or journey in life anyway. And I think the more that we can give students choice in what they learn and how they learn, the better they're going to be able to clear their own path in life. And I think it's going to lead to more fulfillment, and I hope it's going to lead to a stronger social fabric.
By going through the writing project, when I walked out, I then finally considered myself a writer. I mean, I'm never going to be Michael Chabon, but you know, at least I think of myself as a writer.
I just want the Denver Writing Project to be something that every school leader thinks about and knows about and takes advantage of.
When I'm around Denver Writing Project teacher consultants, when I'm around anything writing, National Writing Project, I'm invigorated. So I can like have the hardest, craziest week, and I can walk into any Denver Writing Project event, no matter if it starts at 6 p.m. or 7 a.m., and feel invigorated as a teacher. And I think I've never found that with anything else.